Commissioner Bergman misquotes the laws in Michigan, and this is a pattern with board members who have been on the board long enough to know how laws work. To err is human, but with errors should come acknowledgment of the mistake. This goes for all of the commissioners, whatever the error. The legal counsel corrects the commissioner that was mistaken, but he has not yet offered an apology for spreading misinformation. And as far as I know, he has not been censored by every single media outlet that he is on. Interesting how that works. The same commissioner suggests that those who support Ottawa Impact are peddling false information. Interesting that the suggestion comes just after a bold declaration of misinformation. The public is confused about how public health is achieved in the county. One resident claims that the spending on STD awareness is directly correlated to how many people have STDs. Interesting analysis there. She claims that other things that are problems in the county are directly affected by the spending on it. We'll take a look at those claims. And then the battle of narrative continues in the media as the Holland Sentinel doubles down on their claims, even though the health department budget seems to be higher than previous years. Finally, the possibility of Planned Parenthood stepping into Ottawa County seems to have been averted by the board after some quick changes to the budget. I'm Thomas, and this is the Homes Politicast. All right, we are going to talk about some of this stuff from the last Board of Commissioners meeting. Look, guys. This was a 5.5 hour meeting. I watched the whole thing. I know that Sarah Leach does that too, and if you trust her reporting on the issues, then by all means continue to subscribe to the Holland Sentinel. If you think that maybe, just maybe, she forgets to include some facts that are inconvenient to her narrative, you can listen to me. I get all the facts. I get both sides of the story, whether or not it agrees with the narrative that I think should be pushed. So remember to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share it with friends here in Ottawa County that need to know what is going on in our commissioner meetings. Unless you want to watch the 5.5 hour meetings. If you do, go for it. That is great. I think you should be that engaged. I want to be an informed citizen. I want to help other people be informed citizens. But if you don't have 5.5 hours to watch the meeting, come to me and I'll give you the rundown on how it is going. So, first up, we have Commissioner Bergman. Commissioner Bergman is the Republican on the board that we're still kind of unsure about where he's at in Republican belief, but he makes the claim that our appointee to one of our boards is not qualified. And the claim was made we talked about this actually a couple weeks ago about how it was Brooke Craig. I don't remember. We talked about how the person nominated for this particular board was possibly not qualified. Legal counsel has since clarified that issue publicly. So here we go. Mr. Bergman, unaware of how the law actually has definitions to go with it. Here's Commissioner Bergman.
Our agenda, the approval of someone to fill a position on the Ottawa County Community Corrections Advisory Board. The position open is for a qualified person from a workforce board or with a background in workforce development. However, as you will see, the person that has been chosen is instead a person that is from Michigan Works, is a person with no workforce background at all. I wonder why that is. I hope the public wonders as well. I could go on, but I'll stop now.
So the next part is him saying something that we'll get to in a little bit. So Commissioner Bergman there claiming that the nominee is not qualified, that she is not affiliated with the Department of, or the Michigan Department of Works, West Michigan Department of Public Works. And affiliated is an interesting word, and corporate counsel is able to explain that a little bit better for us. Here's corporate counsel explaining that in just a second. Let me get it up here. Yeah, move it on over. Rock it on over. Nope. That's not what I want to do. Oh, no. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Corporate counsel explaining the law for Commissioner Bergman.
To be affiliated with an applicable workforce investment board. That's what the statute reads. It is MCL 791.407. Now, that particular statute is mirrored by the bylaws of the Ottawa County Community Corrections Advisory Board. And again, it says affiliated with the applicable workforce investment board. So the question really comes up is, what does that mean? What does that mean? And what is this applicable workforce investment board? Well, believe it or not, there's a statute, and that's a good thing. And it is located in MCL 408.111 et sec, which means the entire statute concerns that. And it's called the Michigan Works One-Stop Service Center System Act. That's quite a mouthful. And it provides under one of the subsections that Michigan Works agency means an entity designated to be the administrator for workforce development activities in a local Michigan Works area under the guidance of the local workforce development board. Having said all of that, this section does not mean that Michigan Works is the only or is the workforce development board.
So you don't have to just work for Michigan Works. Let's continue.
So even if you work for Michigan Works, that doesn't mean that you are a part of the workforce development board, but rather you are an administrator that works under the guidance of the local workforce development board. So looking at the various candidates, both of them were qualified.
So both of them fall into that realm. So Commissioner Bergman's claim that the and I read that wrong too when I was looking at it. So Commissioner Bergman's claim there that the nominee does not meet the qualifications. Yeah, fail right there. Okay, so interesting. I'm waiting for Commissioner Bergman to renounce his position there and to backtrack and to say that he was wrong and that maybe the candidate that was put forward is qualified. If he has a different reason for not wanting the proposed candidate to be in the position, well, that's fine, but just say that. To continue on and say that she's not qualified would be misinformation, sir. And we'll get into how Bergman. Oh yeah, wait. Yeah, right here. So Bergman is not a fan of misinformation. In fact, he almost seems to be contributing to some inflammatory rhetoric here. Now, we all know that the rhetoric in Ottawa County has been ramped up for a while. Everybody is a communist. You're a MAGA Republican if you think the Ottawa Impact Commissioners ever do anything right. You're a rhino or a communist or a fascist or an idiot if you think the Ottawa Impact Commissioners ever do anything wrong. There really is no middle ground. And so I think all of the commissioners add to this inflammatory rhetoric. And here's the latest from, and actually I think Joe Moss does it a little bit in this meeting as well. It might have been the next meeting. I'm not sure. Sarah Leach will write about that one because she is all over Moss anytime he does anything. But this is Commissioner Bergman adding to this inflammatory rhetoric. And here he is talking about Ottawa Impact supporters.
I'll stop now because we still have several of their supporters who want to speak for 3 minutes and continue with false theories regarding voter fraud, vaccine fraud, deaths caused by COVID vaccines, and the list goes on. Whatever's the latest false narrative being peddled by so-called doctors on the internet, social media, or whatever. So thanks for listening.
Huh. So, again, not all Ottawa Impact supporters believe any of those things. Not all of the Ottawa Impact supporters believe all those things for sure. But here we have, again, a commissioner painting with a broad stroke their opposition and doing it kind of in poor taste. Yeah. Commissioner Bergman, after stating so boldly something that was wrong, and after quoting a law incorrectly without the definitions that go with that law, and twisting the definitions so that you seem to be helping the other commissioners stop from making mistakes. Yeah, it just, you do it too. Everybody does it. Everybody's wrong sometimes, and that's fine to be wrong sometimes. But to then go on and blast other people for things that you think they're wrong about, I don't know. So, Commissioner Bergman, you got some explaining to do on that one, which maybe he'll explain. I don't know. He's apparently on vacation until the end of the month, so I'm not sure we're gonna get anything much out of him. We'll see how October goes. See if he will answer any questions when October rolls around. We've got another lady here who seems confused about exactly how the health department runs and how public health works. So I mentioned in our opening, yes, I am making this quick. I have a sty in my eye and it is killing me. My eye has been burning for the past 2 days. So I am making this a little quick. We're just moving through content here. So this lady seems to think that the health department is the final arbiter of health in Ottawa County, and we've kind of dismantled that a little bit, but we're just going to talk a little bit about all of the claims that come up here.
Narrative that they are pro-children and families and won't hurt anyone. Yet some basic math comparing service numbers from 2022 to the reduction in funding tells a very different story.
Okay, so number one, first bit of misinformation. We don't have service numbers. Actually, I talked to Gretchen Cosby, and she said she's been trying to get them for the entire year, and we don't have those. So comparing service numbers to anything is impossible. I don't know what this lady is suggesting maybe she's looking at something else and thinks that they're the service numbers, but our public health department does not have service numbers. They don't have number of people served by each thing. We'll continue on, but the first thing that she says here that's wildly inaccurate was that we have service numbers even to compare.
There's a 43% cut in STI screenings and treatment. Why do you want to have up to 760 more people with undiagnosed and untreated sexually transmitted infections in Ottawa County?
So there it is, the first claim. A 41% cut in STI screenings and treatments will result in this many more people. And maybe she knows that that's not a reality, that funding a program does not equal people saved from STDs. But she's sure making the case that the lack of funding is going to result in more STDs contracted, spread, all that stuff. There was another commenter that said that he's been married for the last 13 years and hasn't had a problem with STDs. Most people that can hold down a faithful monogamous marriage do fall into that category, and that's totally outside of the control of the Ottawa County Health Department. The more people we have in faithful monogamous marriages, the less STDs we will have. That is a fact. That's not something that is subjective. People in monogamous, healthy marriages do not get STDs because they'd have to contract them from someone else, and that's not a faithful monogamous marriage. The amount of spending going into the health department does not stop STDs from spreading. I think there's a few more claims here we'll get into.
Why enable infections to spread to unwitting spouses and unborn children? There's a 38% cut in family planning services. Why do you want to increase the risk of unplanned pregnancy for as many as 283 people?
Again, attaching a number to a percentage. If you're going to cut this much in spending, this many more people will have unplanned pregnancies. Now, what is in reality is the more stable two-parent families that you have, the less teens you will have that end up pregnant. The more families that you have staying together, the less family planning services are needed. And now it's interesting because this woman makes the claim that more money in health department equals less bad outcomes. But what she fails to realize is that spending has been steadily increasing in all these programs, and the amount of people with STIs, the amount of teens becoming pregnant is also increasing. So actually, the real correlation here is the more money you dump into the government, the higher the more problems that you have with the family, which is kind of interesting to think about. The more money we dump into these programs, the worse the problem gets. Let's continue with a few more outrageous claims.
Why do you want to increase the risk that they may make a decision to terminate pregnancy or bear children who may be born into families who aren't prepared to receive them, or that the county may need to increase spending to care for them? There's been an assertion made that there's no cut to Miles of Smiles, but the budget tells a different story. There's a 19% cut in Miles of Smiles. Why do you want to make it harder, if not impossible, for up to 143 vulnerable people and children to receive dental services? And then
So she's actually right about that one. There is a cut in Miles of Smiles. Will that result in less people being served? Who can say? We don't have the numbers of people being served from the health department. If we had those numbers, that'd be great. We could make a comparison. We could see how effective the plan is. We could see how effective the program is. But we don't. And we haven't all year. Again, if Adeline Hambley would get those to Gretchen Cosby, then we can do an effective comparison and analysis of how well these programs are working. All right, I think we're done with a few of these claims that have been going around. So for our final piece, the Holland Sentinel is still just fighting tooth and nail to make sure that Adeline Hambley is vindicated, that the Ottawa County Board is made to look like fools, and that their narrative is the one that is dominant. So they talk about how in the last... So Adeline Hambley appeared today before the Health and Human Services Committee, which we'll discuss next week. But I wanted to get you the latest, hot off the presses. 10 seconds ago it happened, and the Holland Sentinel has the full story, totally unbiased for you, right? Yeah, maybe. So the health department is functioning with a lower budget than some previous years. Joe Moss would say one. It seems like Adeline Hambley would say two. That's one of the claims that we're going to be looking at, because it's kind of important. But either way, whether or not we're looking at one or two, the amount that the health department is spending is roughly the same. Let's see. So you know what? This is a long article, and I don't really want to go through it because my eyeball's hurting. Yeah, you know what? Screw the Sentinel. We'll talk about this next week. Yeah, be sure to share some of my content. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. You are not going to get the full story from the Holland Sentinel, from the Grand Haven Tribune. They share the same few writers, so come to me. Make sure you're tuning in every week. I spend sometimes a little bit over 40 minutes, but most of the time less than 40 minutes to keep you informed on everything that's going on in our Ottawa County commissioners meetings and more things outside of our commissioners meetings as well. I talk about some of the races coming up. I did talk about the Grand Haven mayoral race until it turned out to be the two people that are almost exactly the same. I talk about the school board races, all that stuff that's coming up. So make sure you're tuning in every week to get both sides of the story, not just one. All right. With that, I am Thomas, and this is the Holmes Politicast. I hope to see you next week.